Tonight, Attorney Mary Francis appalled by the recent police press conference and the handling of questions about the hanging death of a man inside a police station. MP Guy Joseph snubs the usual media scrum outside of Parliament as he digs in his heels about not engaging two members of the press. And one lawsuit and one investigation later, Prime Minister Alan Shasley and Dr. Ernest Hilaire continue to go at it over the Walid Jufari controversy. That and more coming up.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News with Lovelace and Amy Joseph.
Good night. It is Tuesday, the 10th of December 2019. Welcome to the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. We're on Flow Channel 117, also being simulcast on Kiss FM Radio. Watch via our website www.caribbeanhottv.com or on our free Caribbean Hot FM mobile app. I'm Lovely St. Amy Joseph. Thank you for joining us. Mary Francis says a bad taste continues to linger in the mouths of members of the public following the police press briefing held to provide information about the suspected suicide of 32-year-old Shem Sinais. Sinais' body was discovered hanging in the washroom of the Labrie police station, and this has drummed up memories of a similar incident in 2013 where Micoud police claimed 22-year-old Shakadan Daniel hanged himself at the station. Francis says on the occasion of Human Rights Day celebrated on the 10th of December, this, among other pressing issues, calls for the establishment of a National Human Rights Commission. Solange Alfred tells us more.
More questions than answers are being raised following the police press brief held to provide information surrounding the death of 52-year-old Shem Sinais. The alleged suicide that took place inside the washroom of the Labrie police station has warranted cause for concern by human rights advocate Mary Francis. Francis says on the observance of Human Rights Day, celebrated on December 10th, a clarion call must be sounded to enact justice for those who have suffered as a result of negligence and questionable actions on the part of law enforcement. To expound her point, she highlighted the release of an alleged mentally challenged Vieux Fort man in the community of Choiseul after hours. 21-year-old Michael Blaze has yet to be seen by his family since November 24th.
This was a case of extreme recklessness on the part of the police because I heard being said that he was a guy with mental issues going to the special aids. How is it the police never was able to decipher that or able to probably sense this aspect? Why is it that they, I don't know, but apparently they never communicated with the family, which according to our laws and the rules governing arrest of persons, you have rights in custody, a right to a telephone call to call your parent or a lawyer. And the excuse that it was 72 hours and you have to release him, to me that is just ridiculous, because you took a young man like that all the way in Choiseul. He's not familiar with this on the night time again. So there is such a thing as protective custody. He could have been kept until the following day for his own protection. So again, it shows disregard on the part of the police of the rights of persons and for the safety, which is the duty of the state to provide. And I hope that there's going to be a serious investigation and some kind of sanctions against the police for acting recklessly. There are protocols in place. How are such things happening? That a man would be taken and then would hang himself. This has to be seriously investigated. And again, we don't have an independent investigative unit for the police force. We're not serious in St. Lucia. Those things are really necessary, and I think long overdue. We need to have those things in place because we cannot just accept the one-sided story. Inquests are being held. The Coroner's Act needs reforming. There's no transparency in terms of inquests. The police gather the information, they place it before the coroner. Where is the independence? It's a one-sided affair.
The attorney at law and coordinator of the National Center for Legal Aid and Human Rights Incorporated calls for the formation of a National Human Rights Commission with an aim centered around the protection of human rights.
The establishment of a National Human Rights Commission on the part of government. This was called for in 2015 when St. Lucia had to submit before the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva for periodic review of the steps that St. Lucia has taken to implement conventions, United Nations conventions. And a call was made in view of the various problems in St. Lucia, to have a National Commission of Human Rights set up by government.
Francis says human rights advocates have oftentimes been at the receiving end of political backlash when championing the cause of marginalized people.
We just set up into the party politics, and we see human rights persons as attacking the government of the day, which is ridiculous. We stand for the Constitution, which is the supreme law, whether labor in or minority in, labor out. The supreme law remains the supreme law of the land, and you need to have some private monitoring or independent monitoring of the state actions at all times, or else we will result in a police state and oppression, because the police is the law enforcement agent in the land, very powerful. Yes, they have to be respected, but if they do things which will diminish our rights, well, obviously confidence in the police force will also diminish, and you'll have all types of consequences because of that.
Francis closes off her statements by urging political figures to steer clear from using crime alleviation as a bargaining chip to gain political points. She says in doing so, undue pressure is placed on law enforcement and can lead to a quandary of human rights infringements in a bid to deliver on the political ambitions of politicians. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Solange Alfred.
Thank you, Solange. Mum's the word as MP for Castries South East Guy Joseph walked away from the hive of media personnel at Parliament. The usually outspoken parliamentarian shielded himself from questions from the media by announcing his continued stance to outright refuse to answer any questions from two journalists in particular. Joseph stormed away from the cluster of mics, cameras, and reporters, leaving the press questioning why such a cold shoulder.
Outside of Parliament on Tuesday, 10th December, media awaited the arrival of various parliamentarians for the normal question and answer segment before the representatives proceed into Parliament. The interaction offers the media the chance to probe the various MPs on long-standing issues, hot topics, and pressing matters of the people. However, a disturbing running narrative continues to permeate with every interaction had between Parliamentary Representative for Castries South East, Guy Joseph, and senior-level journalists in the field. The usually outspoken MP has chosen to stay mum when questioned about Minister for Health, Mary Isaac's knowledge or lack thereof in matters surrounding the reconstruction of the St. Jude Hospital.
Because I wanted to find out why your cabinet colleague, Mary Isaac, doesn't know anything about the hospital reconstruction at St. Jude's. Do you not discuss this at cabinet?
The vocal MP in the past has provided information surrounding the construction efforts. However, as it stands, his lips were sealed as he walked away from reporters outside Parliament on Tuesday, 10th December. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Solange Alfred.
The tell-all expose by Al Jazeera has opened up a can of worms surrounding immunity for sale in the Caribbean. Politicians have dissected the topic of CIP and diplomatic passports, as was the case with Prime Minister Alan Chastanet, who sought to clarify his government's role in the continuation of the Citizenship by Investment program. He also fired shots at the then chairman of the Citizenship by Investment program, Dr. Ernest Hilaire.
Citizenship and diplomatic passports are two separate and unique issues. These are the sentiments held by Prime Minister Alan Chastanet. Outside of Parliament, the PM discusses the recent Al Jazeera documentary that drew attention to diplomatic immunity given to less than favorable characters in exchange for collateral that usually lined the pockets of whoever was issuing the documents. Prime Minister Alan Chastanet spoke at length about the now notorious Jufali matter.
So when you have a situation in which you had an individual who was actually involved in a very controversial appointment of a Saudi Arabian businessman as an ambassador, in which there are actually more questions than there are answers, and then you turn around and you place that person as the chairman of CIP, all we're saying is you're looking for trouble. And so here we have another situation in which clearly the Al Jazeera story is indicating that there are some countries, whether it's true or not, have made the allegation that countries are appointing people and giving them diplomatic passports on a quid pro quo situation. But I can say without any fear of conflict that the appointment of Dr. Jufali was always about immunity. It wasn't about economic development, wasn't about a lab or anything else. It was about immunity. And so the question that you must ask yourselves is, why was Dr. Jafali being oppressed and St. Lucia felt it had to come to the rescue of a billionaire? What was in it for St. Lucia?
Chasney says the island did not benefit from that particular CIP venture and posed this question to the public.
Is it reasonable for us to ask the question, after particularly seeing the Al Jazeera story, who benefited? And I would certainly like to hear from the people who benefited. How did they benefit? And to come clean with the people of St. Lucia as to how much they received. But there's no question in my mind that somebody benefited. And for sure, it wasn't the state. And for sure, we all knew that this was about immunity. So this is the problem. So when you have a CIP program and you have people that are involved in what is perceived to be the sale of diplomacy, then it muddies the waters.
Prime Minister Alan Chasney lauds his administration's level of transparency when it comes to the management of the Citizenship by Investment program.
We know how much money we've earned. We know how many passports we've sold. We know the name of the people who have had passports. And all of these issues have been brought to Parliament. So my government is very proud of the fact that we continue to run this program in a very transparent and accountable manner. Furthermore, none of the people who are making applications can be approved unless we have GRCC approval. And why is that? Because we believe that we have an obligation to the CARICOM for those countries who do not have a CIP program to be assured that the people who are going to become citizens of St. Lucia and will get benefits because of our economic treaty, that those are people of a high enough standard they don't have to fear.
St. Lucia was recently ranked as having the least attractive Citizenship by Investment program in the world by website bestcitizenships.com. According to a study by the site, the country takes the last spot in the 2020 rankings. Out of 210 points, St. Lucia ranked 11th out of 11 countries, with a score of 103.5 based on their points-based scoring (PBS) model, which examined 31 factors of Citizenship by Investment schemes before mathematically predicting the best Citizenship by Investment program for clients. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Solange Alfred.
Now, Dr. Ernest Dile has blasted what he says is the government's use of state resources to pursue a vendetta against him, even when there is no evidence of wrongdoing after 4 years of accusations. He is referring to the counter-investigation launched by the government following his lawsuit against Prime Minister Alan Chasney for defamation with regard to allegations of quid pro quo between Dr. Hilaire and the now deceased Walid Jafali, who was appointed as an ambassador under the former SLP administration. Castries South MP Dr. Ernest Hilaire says he is planning to fully enjoy December and Christmas by giving back to his constituents, and he says not even threats of police interrogation or arrest will get in his way. The cloud hanging over his head regards a government probe into his stint as High Commissioner to the UK and the acquisition of a Range Rover. Dr. Hilaire has blasted the government for use of state resources to pursue a vendetta against him. He filed suit against Prime Minister Alan Chasney for defamation in 2018.
This is bizarre, absolutely bizarre. And I'll tell you something, every time United PAC or the Prime Minister, one of his ministers, says something, our lawyers actually put it in the folder to add to the list of evidence. Because it's bizarre. How do you say something about somebody? You are sued. You then come to the house and you announce, since you sue me, I'm going to investigate you, to find out about you. Use all the resources of the state to investigate that person, to find out what I could find out about that person, to help my case. Enter it in as evidence on your behalf. I mean, using the full apparatus of the state at state expenses to be able to defend a defamation case against you personally.
Dr. Hilaire continues to deny any wrongdoing and says his attorneys are noting every instance where the government continues to accuse him. His defamation lawsuit, he says, will move ahead. The rumors about police planning to haul him in for questioning, he says, will not intimidate him.
I keep being told that it's going to happen, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. They were supposed to call me in on Friday. Well, I wasn't there. I was in Dominica celebrating. I was going to be called yesterday. I'm going to be called today. You know what? At the end of the day, When the accusations come, we will deal with them. There's nothing more you can do or say about that. Surely, the lawyers would have said to him, the more you report that and repeat it, it is called aggravated damages. So all the person who's suing you is going to do is to put it forward as a continuation. The whole issue about my vehicle and Dufali and I stole millions, and everybody knows, well, those who want to know, that I don't appoint ambassadors. I don't issue passports. And he knows that.
Dr. Hilaire's defamation case is being spearheaded by Dominican QC Anthony Astefan, Renee St. Rose, and Peter Foster. The case is about pronouncements made by the Prime Minister linking Dr. Hilaire to the sale of diplomatic passports, the controversial appointment of the now deceased Saudi billionaire Wali Jufali as St. Lucia's permanent representative to the International Maritime Organization, IMO. You're watching the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. When we return, the Prime Minister says dress rehearsals have been impressive and the Peters Cup inaugural horse race is set to thrill. Does the public agree that there should be term limits for governments? All that and more when we return.